Hello, welcome to episode 56. This is a solo episode this week, and I don't know what it is, but so many of you have been, letting me know how you feel about the podcast recently, and for some reason I feel like I've really got into the groove of this podcast, and by having guests on and then still coming on myself, like this week, a solo episode, I really feel like I've got the right balance, and the feedback that I'm hearing is to the same. It's just so many of you have reached out and said you're loving the podcast, the way that you're listening to guests and so many different experiences, but can resonate that everybody experiences intense pain with the death of their pet. And that was my goal, was to just have regular people come on as guests, and people that have extraordinary stories to tell of their pet and the life that they shared with their pet, and really having an emphasis and shining a light on their life with their pet, and not just the last day that their pet had on this earth. It's about so much more than that. It's about so much more, all of the other days, the hours, the years that they've spent with their pet. That's what matters, and not the story of how your pet's life ended. Not that doesn't matter, of course it does, but there's just so much more to your pet than its last day on this planet. And I think I really do feel like I've highlighted that, throughout this podcast, since podcast number 1. And if you are new to the podcast, I know that there is 56 episodes, but I would urge you to go back and listen from episode 1. Sometimes I listen to snippets of episode 1 and I cringe a little bit, because I was so nervous and I had never done anything like this before. And I don't know whether I was articulating myself very well, but I'm still proud of it, because that was my journey, and it was the start of me sharing the most vulnerable part of my life, which was my pet loss journals and entries from my journals, reading them for you word for word, very real, very raw, and digging into all the depths of layers that I experienced through losing both of my dogs. And if you are interested in my personal story, the host of this podcast, definitely go back to episode number 1 and listen, because they're all in chronological order and in date order of each month that I had experienced pet loss as the time grew and as the years progressed. But yes, I thank you so much for all your lovely comments, and I really feel that on this episode I want to keep it kind of light and easy and light-hearted, and I do share a little bit of my personal life on Instagram, not a lot, but I really feel like for you, the listeners, that you've been with me on this journey, you know a little bit more about my personal life on this podcast, and I feel more comfortable sharing, snippets of my even my current life with you now, and I guess a little life update where I'm at now, and how things are going for me. And I'm absolutely loving this podcast, and that is a big part of my life, and helping people through pet loss is obviously a big part of my life, and connecting and talking with people with this similar interest, and this interest of really shedding light on this topic that does not get much light, basically, in society. So I guess at the moment in life I'm doing well. My partner and I are still going strong. We are, I can't imagine I'm saying this, but we're due to get married in a little over 4 months' time in June of this year. And last weekend we kind of celebrated 5 years since our very first date, since we've met for the first time, January 2020, and the time has just flown by, but it's been incredible. And if you've all listened from the beginning, you would realise that I met Steve only a few months after the death of my dogs, and really reflecting now on the 5 years that have passed, this man has helped me get through the most difficult and painful time in my whole life. And he may not have necessarily understood, but my God, when things got tough, he was still there. In the throes of grief with me, he was still there. He held me through it, and he listened, and he was just incredible. And that laid such an incredible foundation for our relationship, and so much safety for me. I felt so incredibly safe to speak with him about the deep emotional impact that the death of my dogs was having on my life. And it's just such an exciting time now that it's coming very, very close, and we're both very excited, and it's like we feel like we're starting like a new chapter of our lives. And we're not fostering any dogs at the moment because of the run up to the wedding, and but we are looking forward to going back fostering afterwards in the summertime. And I think that we definitely have lots of plans in our life. We want to do a bit more travelling and see the world and just spend some quality time exploring. We both work very hard, and I think that that's really, really important. And really, since turning 37 last summer, I have been very conscious about nurturing the close relationships in my life, with particularly with my friends, and particularly with the best friend who lives in the UK. And by nurturing them, I've just been really conscious about not kind of falling into my introverted cave, as you'd say, which I can often do, and forget to kind of keep regular weekly contact with the most important people in my life. And that is something that I have worked really hard at and have really felt the benefits of. And coming into 2025, I've just been very, very conscious of that. I have a small friendship group, very small, and that's all I need. And I do feel that by nurturing those friendships and being honest with them, if I'm going through a difficult time, if I'm having a tough mental health day, as I'd call it, and we all get those, and just being open enough with my friends and close people in my life about some of the struggles that I was going through, or, you know, if I was having any kind of challenges in life, and just being honest and open. And I tend to, if I have a certain struggle or challenge, I tend to want to just retreat, and I go quiet, kind of go off the radar. And I've really been conscious to not do that, to kind of lean into the uncomfortableness of reaching out for support, and just asking for someone to be a listening ear, really. And I think that that's something I've definitely struggled with, that I just kind of want to retreat and go under the radar and go quiet, radio silence basically. But I really feel that I'm breaking that pattern. And if you're in that kind of similar position, because it can be so hard to reach out for support or help or ask for even someone to just listen. I need to just get this off my chest. It's weighing me down. It's consuming me. It is eating me up. And there have been times, in the last 12 months that I've lay awake at night and just being tormented by challenges in my life, going around and around and around and unable to sleep, unable to switch off. And of course that was something that I dealt with in pet loss as well. And I really feel that once I reached out to someone that I trusted, a nurturing relationship in my life, that helped me to even sleep better. It helped me to process what was going on because I was verbally communicating it to someone that I trust. So it can be just something simple like that. Of course, all the while journaling this stuff to get this out of my head and try to make sense of it and process it. So, I mean, yeah, so a small little life update for you, but I think something that came to my mind that I wanted to touch on today, a topic really, and it's something I don't think I've kind of spoke about very much, but the more people that I speak with, be that on social media or in other areas of my life, there's loss in general, and the people that I've spoken with in the last year have numerous times brought up the fact that no matter what kind of loss in their life, but even people speaking about pet loss, when that loss occurs in their life, one of the results from that causes a person to reassess their own life in all areas, in all aspects of their life. And it's something I experienced. I reassessed my relationships. I reassessed career. I reassessed, I moved house, so much changed for me. I reassessed a lot in my life. And I think that is a common theme that I hear coming up lately. And I'd love to just delve into that just a little bit further, in the hopes that some of you listening can resonate, or that it can give some maybe hope to those of you that maybe haven't thought about kind of reassessing life now after the death of your beloved animal. So I suppose to begin, really, it's a deep emotional impact, and losing a pet of any kind brings that profound grief that disrupts the normal flow of life that you have been used to. So this emotional upheaval can spark, for me anyway, introspection about what truly matters in your life currently. And the loss of a pet highlights how fleeting and how precious time is, then leading you to reevaluate your priorities in life and reevaluate where you're at in life. And obviously I've spoken about this so much, but the shift in routine and the shift in your purpose and your identity, whether you're caring for your pet as part of your daily routine, and in many cases central to personal identity, that just intertwines with it. So losing that role can leave a void, prompting questions who am I without this responsibility? Who am I without keeping this living being alive? So it's all leading into that purpose that I've often spoken about and that I've felt myself. What is my purpose now? So many people may reconsider how they spend their time like what brings them fulfillment and how they want to kind of shape their future from then on. So more awareness of your personal needs. So grieving a pet reveals like these unmet needs for comfort, for connection, for purpose, like I've definitely kind of outlined before, and it may like motivate you to seek meaningful relationships or personal growth. And that is exactly the road that I went down, the path that I followed. It motivated me to seek more meaningful relationships and go down a road of personal growth, to learn how to process this grief, to learn how to, have meaningful relationships, and to let go of toxic relationships, to let go of people that were not enhancing my life in a positive way. So I think that's super important. You might find yourself questioning your career choice, your friendships, or other aspects of life that just no longer align with your values. And I do encourage you to do like any kind of values exercise. You can just Google, values exercise online on Google, and there'll be loads of like suggestions of how to do these. But write down your current top 10 values. And these, I find for me, these often change or switch position on a yearly basis, like every 12 months. So it's really important to be clear with your life values, like what's important to you in life. Like you might have a desire for legacy and meaning. So the death of your pet can inspire a desire to create something meaningful, like going volunteering, fostering, adopting another animal, or supporting a cause that you feel passionate about in honour of your pet's memory. So the desire for legacy and meaning, and I definitely fit into that category. I didn't know I did, but when I started my Light After Loss Instagram page and this podcast, little did I know that that's exactly what I was doing. I had a desire to maintain the legacy that my pets left on my life and create meaning from their deaths. So like this can also obviously extend to like personal life changes, such as like pursuing a new passion or committing to a healthier lifestyle, or maybe pursuing like new friendships or a really meaningful romantic relationship. So it could mean anything like that. Reflecting on mortality in general, like just to be very basic here, like the death of your pet can bring mortality into like a really sharp focus into the forefront of your mind, and this can leave you to evaluate like your values, your life goals, your bucket lists, and the kind of legacy that you wish to leave. So there's that, and it can really hone in on like, what are my life goals now? Are these different? Have these changed? What are my bucket lists now without my pet in my life? Rebuilding that sense of purpose is something that I'm passionate about, and I've found a way to do it by this little business, this podcast. Because without a pet, we often seek new purposes. We often seek, how can I align with my values now? Like, how do I do this? Whether it's like exploring a new hobby, moving to a new country, traveling, making new connections. So rebuilding a sense of purpose, and this particular kind of reassessment can lead to like significant life changes. Like I mentioned, such as moving is what I did. Finding a new partner, that's what I did. Changing jobs, tick. If any of you are resonating and you're ticking those boxes with me, like even wanting to explore a new career related to animals, and tick, and it doesn't even have to be related to animals. Maybe you're artistic and maybe you go down a creative route, or maybe there's like a career that you've always kind of wondered, would I be good at that? And you decide to train, or you decide to apply for that job. So rebuilding a sense of purpose in your life again. Finding that strength and resilience. So grieving and healing often reveal like personal strengths, like leading to the courage to make really difficult decisions about other aspects of life. Sometimes and I know I'm speaking for myself here as well, that sometimes if we surprise ourselves. I often say to myself, if I can get through the grief I felt when my dogs died, I can do anything. I can do anything in life, because that was the hardest thing I've ever been through. I survived it. And anybody that's listened to the very early episodes, panic attacks, the PTSD, the flashbacks, the constant crippling anxiety, the insomnia, all of these things, if I could get through that, then I could get through anything. So finding that strength and resilience. And this isn't about keeping strong and keeping busy. That's not what this is about. This is about, it can reveal the most personal strengths that we've never been able to see before, because we hadn't been through this intense form of grief before. So this can lead us to courage about making new decisions. And I was scared to enter into like a new chapter of my life and move county and start a new life with this new partner. And but whatever it was, the fear didn't stick around for very long. And I just felt like, no, this feels right. This is the right thing. I was very sure of my decision, and I had a lot of clarity around those decisions. So experiencing deep loss can motivate you to embrace change and to let go of what no longer serves you, because it puts a lot of areas of your life into perspective. A lot of areas, and more loss can happen along with your pet loss, maybe due to the reassessment of certain areas of your life, which can then lead to those big courageous decisions and leads to that motivation to like embrace the change and let go of what is holding you back and what no longer serves you in life. I know that if you resonate with this, if I would love to know in the comments a little bit about if you've resonated with this, or what has been your experience of reassessing your life after the death of your pet. I didn't plan on reassessing my life after the death of my dogs, but it just kind of flowed that way. It kind of automatically happened that way. The emotional pain was so intense, it kind of forced me to kind of look at the areas of my life, and it wasn't even a planned thing, so it's very hard to explain it. But when something impacts you so deeply like that, you do introspect like different parts of your life, and your priorities kind of become forefront in your mind. You're like, what is most important right now? My pets, my dogs were the most important to me. But now what are my priorities? How do I reevaluate what's important to me now? And connection was very important to me, and love and support, and really leaning into what I was experiencing, like from the people in my life that were offering me those things, and I leaned into that. And then that desire for legacy and meaning. How can I honour my pet's memory? How can I keep their memory alive in my life? And by every podcast that I release and by every post that I put out on social media, that is a way of me continuing that connection with the wonderful, unique relationships I had with both of my dogs. And I think that is really something that maybe some people unconsciously do, but if you have had a pet page for your dog or your cat and you are maintaining that and you're keeping that going, and if you're not, that's okay as well. But when you're comfortable, maybe to post up some pictures and to write about, what they taught you in life and how they made you feel, and all of the amazing memories that you've shared with them, and even sharing one memory a day that you can remember, to keep that connection alive and keep that energy flowing between you and your pet that has left this earth. But yeah, I think, let me know in the comments if you're listening on Spotify. Send me an email or send me a message on Instagram and let me know, have you done this? Has this kind of come up automatically for you as well after the death of your pet? Have you reassessed life? Have you reassessed different areas of your life? Family, friendship, career, health, all of these, like your location, what you're doing. Have you reassessed other parts of your life after the death of your pet? Let me know. I would be so intrigued to see if you resonate with this episode. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I loved giving you a little life update and then talking about this topic that really resonated with me this week. It's just something that I wanted to highlight. It's super important, but I'm working on something all the time in the background at the moment, because I had a goal of 2025 to do some writing. And that's all I'm going to say to you. But as the weeks progress, I might share a little bit more about what I'm writing. And as the weeks progress, obviously I'll be announcing what I've been working on, and I'm super passionate about it. But it's just trying to reach the people that need the support, really. And if you want to help in some small way, I would love if you could leave a review on Spotify, write a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Leave a comment under any of the episodes that you most resonate with, that you love, that really helped you. And just share this podcast with whoever you feel may need it. And that would be super helpful to push the podcast out to the eyes who need it, to the people who are in the depths of grief, who feel like nobody understands, and who feel very alone in the grief that they feel following the death of their pet. And it would be super helpful if you feel guided to do that. And I would be very grateful, of course, because it helps with, getting this podcast shown to the people that need it most. But until next week's episode is going to be absolutely fantastic. You're going to love it. Really, to give you some information, we've talked a lot with guests about the death of their pets and how it impacted their life and about their relationships. But next week we're going to shed some light on anticipatory grief. And I talked to the most wonderful guest who is going to talk to us about her experience with her pet, who is still alive, and those feelings of anticipatory grief that are impacting her life. So definitely stay tuned for next week's episode. And if you did like this episode, do leave a comment underneath, or do leave some feedback. I'd love to hear from you. Further details of getting in contact with me are in the show notes. But as ever, go easy on yourself and just take care of yourself. Do some self-care this week, and until next time, take care.